Hey, I'm Shannon. Welcome to Bike Tricks. Today we're going to be talking about how to size a bike for heavier riders. We're going to dig into a bunch of the details, so come along. First of all, what is considered heavy? That's kind of a key parameter to think about. This is going to vary for different bikes, but for us here at Bike Tricks, heavy starts at about 265, 275 and up. I get a lot of folks who call in and say, hey, I'm 200 pounds, I'm heavy. No, friend, not for Bike Tricks bikes. You're kind of in the middle. So now that we've established what we consider to be a heavy rider, let's talk about some of the things to look at when you are considering a bike. When you are looking through our website at bikes, or any website to be honest, is bike load capacity. And what does that even mean? That is your bike's load carrying capacity. What is considered load? Well, the bike itself, you, and, well, any cargo you're taking with you. So if your bike capacity is, say, 285 pounds, that is the warranted load for that model. Does it mean it's going to crumble to dust as soon as you put 286 pounds on there? No, that's not how that works.
Oh, I see.
However, if you do have it overloaded and something goes wrong, it may not be covered under warranty. One of the first considerations you're going to want to make is what frame is right for you. So, like I just mentioned, there are weight capacity ratings, and they are labeled across all of Bike Tricks' different e-bikes, and most other companies out there will have that information available. In general, something that is a step over and a hardtail, meaning there's no rear in-frame suspension, is going to be a little bit more robust than, say, a step through or something with a rear suspension. Now, that doesn't mean that there's no step through out there for you. Take, for example, the Ultra Duo 4. We just released this one earlier this year in our step through model, and it actually has a reinforced frame, upping its weight capacity to about 330 pounds.
Damn!
Whereas previously, like the Ultra Duo 3 was only at about 265-ish. Now, I did promise you a special guest, so I'm going to go ahead and bring him in now. We're going to chat about purchasing an e-bike as a bigger rider. So a big, warm Bike Tricks welcome to, well, my husband, David. Thanks for coming.
You're welcome.
Thanks for getting in the car when I went to get you so we could film this video. Like I said, this is my husband, David, and we both have our own Bike Tricks electric bikes. Now, we did buy yours first, and there were a few things we needed to take into consideration when we were buying it. So when we were looking for a bike for you, before we were even looking at e-bikes, you had some thoughts and feelings and honestly some fears around a few different things. Do you want to share a few of those with us?
Well, the biggest concerns was, as a bigger rider, I had flattened tires, bent rims, and broken handlebars straight out, just trying to actually ride them like I did as a kid. And so it was a kind of an ongoing just throwing money at it and not being happy.
And then we found Bike Tricks e-bikes, and we basically solved those problems. So now you have an Ultra Duo 2 step over, which has the 1000-watt mid-drive motor, and for heavier riders, a 1000-watt or a higher capacity motor along with a mid-drive is going to give you a bit more torque and more power, so that is something to keep in mind. Not saying you can't do a hub drive, but you're likely to get a bit better performance out of a mid-drive, and I feel like you found that with your bike.
Yeah, I found that the bike handles really well with anything I want to actually do with it. I go out, I ride, I take my dog with me and he keeps up. And honestly, I always keep it on the lower end of it. And I know it can do more than I ask of it.
You do use it for a few different things. Like you mentioned, you take our dogs out for a run. The one keeps up, the other trots along. So the one who likes to run, you do take him off-roading. And one of the ways that that is possible is your 26x4 wheel set on it. So those nice fat tires. Not only can they handle all the different terrain, they've added a bit more cushion and suspension to the ride, which also ups that overall load capacity. So keep an eye out for your wheel sets. One of your concerns had been flattening tires. So, traditional bikes when we had a kid had those little wheels on it. So you might want to steer clear of those and go with a fatter tire. How do you find the fatter tire handles through your adventures?
It handles really well on everything. It actually even handles well on ice, which was a surprise for me. But you still have to be careful.
Now, another thing I get asked a lot when folks who are heavier looking for a bike, one of their concerns is braking. Now, you've got 180 millimeter rotors on dual piston hydraulic brakes. I, on my bike, have 203 millimeter rotors on quad piston hydraulic brakes. I got the Maguras for myself, and I've never had an issue with stopping. Have you found that power to be sufficient for you?
Oh yeah, I've never had a problem stopping on it at all.
So yeah, having that extra bit of grip and stopping power is pretty key for heavier riders, particularly if you're going downhill. You just want to have that extra bit of safety. Batteries and range also kind of come into the mix. Ours both have dual battery capacity. Anything in our lineup pretty much that's a duo, the exception of the XD Duo, that's different, had dual battery capacity, meaning you can put a second range extender here.
That makes sense.
All of our ranges on our website are estimations, not promises. Unfortunately, physics exists. As much as we try to get around it, it's still out there. So those range estimates on our website are based on about a 180-pound rider on flat terrain under ideal conditions. Now, neither of us are 180 pounds or ride particularly flat conditions. And we do have dual battery setups. Can you speak to range? Have you ever run out during a ride?
No, I think the most, like going assisted, the most I've used is probably 40-50% of the dual batteries. And that's going for about an hour to 2 hours with 2 different dogs.
Yeah, and I find I usually get tired before my bike does, to be honest. I've done 40, 50, 60 plus kilometer rides on a dual battery setup, and I just have the smallest possible combination, 17 amp hour underneath and a 14 amp hour actually on top. And I think you have the same. So we've found we get pretty good range, but for heavier riders, take that into consideration when choosing your battery. You may want to up the capacity where available just to give yourself that extra bit of room. When it comes to fitting the bike, we've covered the basics in previous videos. All of that's going to stay the same. Check your inseam, check your seat heights, check your reach. When it comes to heavier rider, we want to make sure that, like we mentioned earlier, the frame is up to snuff and is of capacity, but in certain cases also our accessories. So if you're looking at things like a thud buster or a dropper seat post, like an alternative seat post, check your weight ratings there. Now you've got the really comfy ProMan seat on your bike. It is so handy, and you've never ridden one of our step throughs. So I think we're going to go ahead and size you on this step through and see how you feel, because I don't know, Christmas is coming. Now, given everything that we've just talked about, fears over flattened wheels and frames and all that jazz, how do you feel on this one?
Feels pretty solid and secure. I know people usually ride with their seats higher, but I actually like mine lower just in case I'm riding during winter, because I find that you can get really sturdy stability with these bikes if you actually can just plant your feet on ice.
Okay, we're going to cut all that out because we do not want to encourage people to ride flat-footed.
Step over.
Everybody does that.
When I was jumping Springfield Gorge.
Saturday, I'll be jumping over Springfield Gorge on my skateboard.
Oh, this feels pretty secure. Yeah, feels good.
Excellent. Looks good. Now, how do you feel the accessibility compares? If we were to go back in time and you were going to get your very first e-bike, would you prefer a step through or a step over? You know what? Don't answer. That's a hard question. It's personal preference, and everybody's going to like something a little bit different. All right. So now that you've had your bike for about 2 years, do you want to give us a quick little recap on your experience with it over that time?
Well, when I first got my bike, I was over 330 pounds and now down to 285. And that's a little over 500 kilometers of riding and 300 kilometers with the dogs. During that time, I haven't had any technical issues related to my weight or riding along, and it's been a really good experience.
Excellent. So given the chance, you'd buy that one all over again.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. All right, well, I'm going to let you go. I'll see you at home. Thanks for joining me. We've covered a lot of different things to consider when buying an e-bike as a heavier rider. So just a quick recap. Things you're going to want to look for: the overall weight capacity of the bike and the frame style that's going to best suit you, the terrain you want to ride, and your accessibility needs. The wheel size. Bigger generally adds more capacity, so don't put those fat tires aside just yet. They're actually a ton of fun and really versatile. Brakes, super important. Make sure you're looking for at least a dual piston or better hydraulic disc brake for that extra secure stopping power. Your range, as bigger riders, we're going to use a lot more power from our motors, so take a look at those bigger batteries, and if it's in your budget, I definitely recommend sizing up. And again, motor power. You're going to want a bit more juice on that front just to get you going where you want to be. So keep all those things in mind. And if you're still not sure or would like to run your options by somebody, reach out to us at Bike Tricks. Our sales team would be happy to help. That's all I've got for you today on how to buy a bike for a heavier rider. Like, subscribe, and comment, and I'll see you next time.
Yeah? Okay.
Oh, you like running? All right, thanks for coming out.